Are you even aware that you're living in a constant state of anxiety? Well, let's explore this on today's video. When you think of a refrigerator that's been humming in your kitchen for so many years, you've completely blocked it out. You've gotten totally used to it. It doesn't seem odd at all until the day it goes off, and then all of a sudden you're aware of the silence. Oh my gosh, have I been living with that all these years? That refrigerator's been humming for decades now? I didn't even know. And then there's that peace, that exhale, when it finally goes away. Same thing with our feelings, especially anxiety. Now, anyone who's a victim of some kind of abuse or trauma growing up may be used to living in a state of generalized anxiety, but today I'm going to focus more in on being a victim of emotional incest. Basically, living in a constant state of anxiety means there's always some severe tension or worry there. It's following you on your shoulder all the time. You can't seem to shake it and you don't know why. Within the constant state of anxiety, you may be having good days and bad days, living your normal life. But even with the good days, you may be aware of this feeling in the pit of your stomach that's always there. And you're wondering, I'm having a good day, things are going the way I want, but still there's something off. It could feel like a void, an empty hole, worry, as I mentioned, a general concern, hypervigilance, always looking over your back, checking things out, not feeling settled. There's a constant state of anxiety. You could catch yourself worrying about many things. This could be your family situation, your financial situation. Maybe you're having some sort of health problem. Oh, I got to get through my to-do list this week. I have 22 things on my to-do list. It could be focused on a variety of things. You may sense that most of this anxiety is somehow unwarranted, but no matter what you do, you can't get rid of it. And then, of course, if this is ongoing, it may affect how we sleep, how we relate to others. Maybe we're always a bit on edge. You just can't relax. And hence, if that's going on over years, then we may have physical symptoms at some point, which is somatic disorder. Always wondering why now I'm having ongoing shoulder pain or back pain. Now I have ulcers. How'd I get ulcers? Migraines. I'm getting migraines every other week now. Or if there's a lot of repressed feelings, it could even turn into something more serious, like some form of cancer or something like that. Now, with this generalized anxiety disorder, we normally can function just fine. We have jobs, careers, we're raising a family perhaps. We still travel, have some friends. So it doesn't impair us in that way. This is more subtle. This is like that refrigerator that has that ongoing hum. But you don't need to, or nor should you want to live with an ongoing hum. What's that ongoing hum about? If it's related to emotional incest, it's because you've been emotionally smothered by a parent and hence you didn't feel comfortable in your own skin. You had to be there for the parent what they wanted you to be, typically because they're in a bad marriage, or if it's a single parent, they don't want to go out and live their life as an adult and have a peer or an equal that they can relate to or talk to, so they focus in on the child and take over their child like a mini therapist or a mini husband or wife or something like that. So if you're a child that's grown up that way and you have to be on in order to win this conditional love from a parent, then you can't really ever be you. You're constantly figuring, thinking ahead, dodging, avoiding, walking on eggshells. You're always trying to figure something out, which would cause anxiety, right? Even me just saying it right now causes some anxiety in me. You can't just settle into anything because you always have to be on. And then if you told people about it, some of the symptoms, what home life was like for you, assuming you could even find the words growing up, and most kids usually can't, especially if you're raised by narcissistic parents. But even if you could find the words, if we fantasize that that could happen, most people that are around, friends of the family, extended family, and so on, are not going to believe you. Oh my God, you got the best mother in the world. How could you say that about your father? He worships the ground you walk on. Why would you say something like that about him? So if you try to point out the truth, the reality that you're being smothered, you're paying a price, nobody seems to want to believe you. In fact, they may be gaslighting you and telling you, no, you've got it all wrong. Your parents are saints. You should be ashamed of yourself for saying that about your mother or your father. So what's that do? It causes more generalized anxiety because nothing is congruent. It doesn't seem in sync with how you're feeling, how you're going through life. You're going through life feeling an emptiness, a void inside of you. Things are off. You have to be hypervigilant, but everybody's telling you that things are okay and there's something wrong with you, when in reality the opposite is true. That's going to cause an ongoing anxiety. That's that humming refrigerator in the background that we have to get in touch with in our adult life, because if we don't, then we're just going to pay an ongoing price. And do we really want to pay an ongoing price for something that we had to go through in our childhood? I don't think so. I know I wouldn't want to. And if a kid's growing up with this, it'll show in other ways in their life. For example, problems at school, maybe with competition, playing sports of some sort. They always sabotage themselves and somehow fail, don't do as well as they could have, because it's triggering competition. They're not supposed to compete, right? They're learning at home. You become submissive and just take it. You're there for them. There's not supposed to be a real you there. So how's a kid that's going to be raised like that all of a sudden going to do well in competitive sports? So it can play out in many, many interesting, unique ways as we get older. Or of course, having a relationship. How can I get close to this person, be intimate or vulnerable with them? If you haven't been able to do that throughout your childhood, well, how's one going to just somehow know to do that in their adult life? That's going to scare them. Could show in other ways, like the need to be perfect, a perfectionist side to you, always on time, you got to be ready. Or of course, going along with, there's a conformity to that, right? We need to conform to society. I better not have too much of an opinion at this political meeting. I better not ruffle too many feathers with what I really want to say. I better keep it all in and just be the good little boy or girl, even though you're an adult, which will cause a generalized anxiety. It's an ongoing pervasive feeling that's always there because you haven't dealt with the fact that you were trampled on by your own parents, which is something you can do though as an adult, mainly by seeking therapy and processing what your childhood has been like, the impact of it, how it's affected you. Also, another reason to confront it at some point is because it can really get in there and affect the way our brain is wired, our brain circuitry, so to speak. Because if we're in a constant state of anxiety, then it's the way the messages are flashed through our brain to advise us of something. Everything is fight or flight. There's some neuro training going on with that. Now, everybody has anxiety in their life to some point. Having anxiety is okay and even normal to a degree. It can help us understand what's really going on if we honor that pit in our stomach. And we may indeed realize I do have something to be afraid of here. That's a good thing. So anxiety can protect us in many ways, but when it's ongoing over many years, it becomes debilitating. It's not helpful or healthy to have that. And so then we need to peel back the layers of the onion, so to speak, and look at where is this really coming from? Again, as I said at the beginning of the video, it can come from many areas, many forms of abuse and trauma. Today I've zoomed in more on being a victim of emotional incest as the source. So I hope this is helpful in that by understanding the source, noticing that humming refrigerator, then we can take the next step of confronting it. If we don't know what we're confronting, how are we going to confront it? So if you've been living in a constant state of anxiety in your life, please feel free to leave a comment below. Tell us what that's been like. Have you been able to associate it to your childhood? Please subscribe to my mental health YouTube channel if you like these kind of videos. And until next week, this is Brad Shore signing off from Ask a Shrink.